The Whispering Woman. In a quiet village surrounded by dark woods, there was a house no one dared approach. It once belonged to Eleanor Whitmore, a widow whose sorrow became legend. Her husband, Thomas, vanished mysteriously, and after his disappearance, neighbors often heard her whispering at night as if speaking to someone unseen. One autumn evening, Eleanor disappeared too. Villagers searched her house and found it empty except for a dining table set for two with a plate of untouched food. No one ever lived there again, but on windy nights, whispers were said to drift from the windows. Years later, 5 young men sat in the village tavern, swapping tales of courage. Henry Graves, bold and brash, scoffed at the story of Eleanor's house. "Ghosts don't exist," he said. "Prove it," his friend Samuel challenged. "Spend a night there." Henry laughed. "I'll do it and you're coming with me." Samuel, James, Oliver, and Peter reluctantly agreed, and the group set off into the night. As they approached the house, the air grew colder and the trees seemed to close in. The door creaked open, revealing a shadowy interior choked with dust and cobwebs. "It's just an old house," Henry said, though his voice shook. Inside, the floor groaned under their feet and faded wallpaper peeled from the walls. A portrait of Eleanor hung above the fireplace, her sad eyes seeming to follow them. Samuel shivered. "It's like she's waiting for someone." Then came the whispers. At first, the sound was faint, like wind through the trees. But the whispers grew louder, circling them, slipping between the walls. "Who's there?" James called, his voice trembling. The whispers stopped. Then, a low, raspy sigh. Before they could react, the door slammed shut. The lanterns flickered and went out, leaving them in darkness. The whispers rose again, now a chorus of voices urgent, pleading, angry. Something cold brushed against Henry's ear, carrying a single word. "Leave. It's her," Samuel whispered. Eleanor stood at the head of the table, her mouth moving in a whisper that filled the room. "Stay," she said. The air grew icy as a chair scraped away from the table, inviting someone to sit. The whispers turned to a deafening roar as the shadows surged, cold and skeletal, reaching for the young man. Peter screamed and bolted toward the door, but it wouldn't budge. Samuel smashed a window and scrambled outside, dragging the others with him. Henry was the last to escape. As he fled, Henry glanced back. Eleanor stood by the table, and seated across from her was Thomas. His decayed face was frozen in a scream, his eyes hollow and lifeless. She had never let him leave. The villagers found the young men huddled outside the house at dawn, shaking and pale. They spoke of whispers and shadows, but Henry said nothing about what he saw. To this day, the house remains abandoned, but on cold, windy nights, some swear they hear Eleanor's voice, whispering, waiting for someone to stay.